Hey guys, I want to have some fun today and design a beer can, so I'm gonna share with you the entire process from this very simple sketch to the final beer can design. So yeah, let's get started. Because this isn't a real project for a client, I needed to come up with my own brief. So I went to bandnamemaker.com to generate my beer label name. I randomly picked punk rock and generated a bunch of different names. And then I picked Falling Rejects as the name of my brand. After that, I randomly generated a European country because I wanted my beer to have a specific location, and I got the Netherlands. And lastly, I went to randomwordgenerator.com and generated 3 different adjectives that will describe my beer label. So I got awful, premium, and berserk, and what can I say? This is what I got, and I'm gonna try and make it work somehow. I'm pretty sure I can connect my punk beer label to the words awful and berserk. I'm really not sure about making it feel premium, but I'm gonna try anyway. Okay, so I started the work process with all of these details from my brief in mind, and I thought a skull would actually fit pretty well with the brief and the fact that this is a very badass type of brewery, and I'm gonna use some sort of a punk style to make it awful and berserk all at the same time. So I thought a skull would work nicely here. And yeah, what can I say? I mean, I like drawing skulls, and whenever I get a chance, I'll definitely do it. So I mean, I knew I'm gonna add some more elements to the skull as I, continue and developing this illustration, because just a skull would be a bit boring at this specific case. So yeah, now I just fix the sketch, make it cleaner, and just make sure everything is symmetrical. And I actually used a grid for this sketch, which I almost never use. I use a perspective grid, so you can see it now. It looks like a sun with lots of lines coming out of the same place, and I used it for the skull teeth mostly, just to make it feel a bit 3D, I guess. I tried to make the circle shape of the head of the skull also kind of 3D, but then I kind of gave up. It didn't really work, but yeah, I think the teeth look pretty nice. And yeah, I placed it in the middle of my canvas, and I actually copied some text from an existing label, just so my label will look a little bit more realistic and legit. So I added all of these different text details, like the beer type, and text about the brewery, text about the beer, alcohol percentage, and the location. Added a barcode. All of these kind of things will make this label actually look like the real thing. So at this point, yeah, I actually decided to add some tulips to the illustration, and this is because tulips represents the Netherlands, and this way I can actually connect my illustration with the brief and the fact that this beer is being produced in the Netherlands. So I thought it would be an interesting mix of tulip flower and the skull, and I wasn't really sure about the other side of the tulip, whether or not I should have like another tulip on that other side, and eventually I added a bird to the left side of the illustration, and I also thought it will be cool to have a couple of tulips coming out of the eye of the skull. So yeah, this wasn't really a plan. I mean, when I sketched the original skull, I wasn't really sure what's gonna happen, but I already had this idea with the tulips, to work with the tulip. I wasn't really sure, what should I do with it. So here I'm just testing different options with the composition. as long as I can somehow mix the tulip with the skull, it's gonna be good. So yeah, this is how I guess this is how I build my sketches sometimes. I just play around, test different options for the composition and see what works. And yeah, I thought the logo will be on top of the illustration, the logo with the name of my beer label, which is Falling Rejects. And I wasn't really sure about the style of the logo, but I thought I'll go with something kind of punk rock, kind of like, you know, when you do this thing where each of the letters in the word is actually written in a different font. I thought it would be kind of punk in the way that it looks. So but yeah, at this point I wasn't really sure about it, and I just placed it on top of the illustration. And as you guys can see, I'm adding some more details, like, you know, keep cold, avoid sunlight, and some details about the location of the brewery, and a government warning as well, just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And I also copied some ingredients from a beer can of Heineken, again just to make it kind of real, but not too real. I mean, obviously there's much more details and small icons and different information that most of the beer labels today have on top of the can, but yeah, you know, I was just having fun. I didn't really care about all the specifics. Okay, so I tested real quick my design on a mockup, as you can see, and it looks okay. I mean, the layout seems to be working nicely, so yeah, I just kept going. Now I made a cleaner version of my tulip, because my original sketch was kind of lazy, and I actually thought it will be cool to have like an eyeball sticking out of the tulip, like in the middle of the flower, and it's just way more like weird and creepy, and really connects with the vibe, with the awful vibe of this beer label. So yeah, I really like this idea, and yeah, it just makes things a bit more special and interesting, and this is definitely something I'm always aiming for when I'm working on my illustrations. And I wanted to add a bird. Eventually, I mean, I thought I can add a bird to the other side of the tulip, and this way the composition is gonna be balanced in a way, because the tulip is really sticking out of the right side of the composition, while the skull is very symmetrical. So I felt like I need to have an extra element that's gonna be sticking out of the left side of my composition. I just wasn't sure about my bird pose, I guess. Wasn't really sure how to draw it, so I tried to work with this photo of a bird, and I thought it will be interesting to kind of add a worm that is that got caught by the bird, and the bird is holding this weird looking worm. But eventually I changed the sketch of the bird. I tested a couple of different options and find this really nice reference. And yeah, I just copied this pose from this illustration, which is way better than mine. But yeah, what can I say? Yeah, I like the pose. So yeah, I mean, this one fits pretty well. I just felt like the tail needs to be going upwards, so it's gonna be perfectly balanced if the tail is just going up a little bit instead of all the way to the left. And I guess, yeah, that's it. I mean, once I fixed the tail, I got my final sketch. This is it. This is the final sketch. This is everything that I needed to draw. I was pretty happy about the sketch and felt like it can definitely work, and it has all the elements. I mean, it's interesting enough. It has the tulip, which represents the Netherlands, and the skull, which really connects with the fact that this is a punk brewery. And yeah, I guess, yeah, things kind of worked nicely. And this is what I like about my work process is kind of unexpected sometimes. I mean, I just start working on one element while I'm not really sure how it's gonna connect to other elements. But yeah, just, you know, when I just keep working on something, eventually something will connect to one thing will connect to the other, and this is what I like about, you know, creating creative work. I guess you never know what's gonna happen, and sometimes the illustration kind of leads itself, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, just some more fixes, just some cleanups, and yeah, we're good to go. It's time to move on to the coloring process. So at this point, I just started working with a random color scheme that felt nice, and I don't know, I just thought I can mix those greens and pink colors and make something kind of weird and, I don't know, toxic. And I don't know, it felt at the moment it felt like it would work very good with my brief, but I guess it didn't. I mean, but this is the natural way of my work process. I'll start working with some random colors, and most of the time I'll change the colors completely by the time I finish the illustration. And I don't know, I mean, different illustrations dictates different colors, and I don't know, every project is different, I guess, for me. I mean, some people have it more clear, and they have like a clear vision of how their colors work, and you know what's the coloring process is gonna be like in every project that they work on. But I'm not working this way. I'm just like, you know, trying random things. I guess if this was a real project for a client, I'll be more careful with my colors, I'll be more precise, and I'll aim towards a certain color scheme in advance. But since this is just for fun, this is just like a quick and dirty type of project, and I don't really care about the end result. I just want to have fun and learn something new on the way. So for me, experimenting is important. I mean, I want to make mistakes, and I want to come up with new things that will surprise me as I work on the illustration. So yeah, just most of the time when I start working on something like this, I'll try to don't think as much as possible on my colors. Not at least like I have most of the illustration already done. I mean, playing with the colors at a very early stage would be a mistake for me. Anyway, at this point I actually realized that the light color for the background wasn't working, and it didn't felt very much awful and punk in any way. So I just switched the background color into black, and it definitely helps. And yeah, just another step in the process. But I guess, yeah, I'm getting closer, and my skull illustration is halfway ready. Oh yeah, I worked on the logo for my brewery, and I thought I'll make it I thought I'll draw the letters with a brush, freehand. just to make it feel, you know, free and messy and kind of punk. But this is just a sketch at the moment. I mean, I didn't think like this is how it's gonna look like. I knew that this is just a placeholder at the moment to see how things feel like and how the composition actually work. At this point, I actually thought that the logo can actually be on top of the illustration, or maybe just part of the logo would be on top of the illustration, but eventually it kind of didn't work. I mean, maybe if this was a one-color illustration, just black and white, then I could actually have the logo with a different color on top of my illustration. But yeah, with these different colors, it definitely didn't work. And eventually I made the logo separate from the illustration. I'm just playing with some titles now. This didn't work. This one didn't work as well. I wasn't really happy about this title. I'm trying to make it look kind of punk and grungy and punk, but yeah, it didn't look like anything. So yeah, I thought that this hand-drawn font is actually nice and it works better. Some adjustments to the logo. Yeah, this is already much better, and yeah, definitely getting there. Yeah, so even though, I mean, the colors are not working, but it's nice. I mean, it's getting there. I can see some sort of a balance in the entire layout, you know, of the whole thing looks like it's starting to get an interesting shape to it, I guess. The composition is interesting enough. And I mean, the colors are okay, I guess. I mean, they're not that bad. I guess I could make it happen with the green and pink if I really wanted to, but it's kind of cute, I guess. It's a bit too cute, maybe that's the problem. But I mean, I really like using pink in my illustrations whenever I can. So I mean, if I just need to start with a random color scheme, I'll usually work with some pink. Pink and black, these are like my favorite colors for sure. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this video, if you're enjoying this process, this is the first time I'm doing this process video where I actually show you the brief and really share with you the entire process, the design, and working on the layout and all that stuff. So please feel free to comment and let me know if you like this new type of videos. Okay, so yeah, at this point I changed the colors of the illustration to something even more toxic, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, I like this. What's the color? I mean, is it still green, yellow, weird color? Yeah, that's nice. What was I saying? Yeah, I wanted to say that if you guys are watching this and you're enjoying this process, also please consider subscribing. I mean, come on guys, if you made it this far in the video, that's a good reason for you to subscribe. Okay, so Yeah, I mean, once the tulip was starting to get into shape, yeah, I was definitely happy about this eyeball idea. Very creepy and cute in the same time, and yeah, I just like it. I mean, this is my favorite part in the illustration for sure. Started working on the bird at this point. I gotta say, I didn't really do a good job with this bird illustration. I mean, yeah, I could do a better job. Didn't go way crazy, like I didn't really add a lot of details to the feathers eventually, and I mean, this is what happens when I work too fast. And I mean, I tried to finish the whole thing in one day. I didn't want to spend any more time on it. I just didn't have any time, and I really wanted to finish this process video and this illustration. And yeah, I had to cut some corners, I guess. And but yeah, I mean, overall the bird is pretty small in, you know, considering the size of the illustration, and the whole label is pretty big, so maybe there's really no point into getting into way too deep with, you know, small details on the bird's feathers and all that stuff. Yeah, so I tested the colors again, played with the colors again. I'm using the select and color range to separate the entire green color from all of the canvas, and then I can change it pretty quickly and see what other colors actually work better with my illustration. So this is how I changed my colors fast. So yeah, this is where I realized I can actually make it just black, white and pink, or red. Eventually I think it's red. So but yeah, just reduce and lose one of the colors and just work with 3 different colors for the entire thing, and it makes it a bit more dark and serious. And yeah, it just connects better with the fact that this is a punk brewery, and it should be kind of badass. So this bright pink works better, and this was almost the final colors that I use for this illustration. And yeah, I was definitely happy with you know, how this thing developed. Yeah, just testing to see what's the front's gonna look like. Still not sure about the logo size at this point. So for me, I guess this is like the most enjoyable part of the process, when things kind of look like, when everything is kind of starting to connect and work together, and the entire composition already looks pretty good. I mean, if you look from afar, at this point things look pretty solid, and I mean, yeah, this is where I just enjoy, you know, keep working on the small details, but I know that the main composition and the main elements work nicely, and that's what's important. So now I can just you know, relax and have some fun, work on the small details, like the shadow on top of the worm, which isn't really important, but yeah, I guess it adds something, and yeah, it's just fun to do. yeah, I decided to write most of the text by hand eventually. So I also written Awful Ale by hand and some other titles as well. I guess, yeah, it's a bit more messy and fun, and it just connects better with the punk rock look that this label has. Yeah, I'm kind of lazy, so I just duplicated the flower. I'd use this, basically the same flower for the other tulip, because, you know, why not? You can save some, if I can save some time. I changed the leaves a little bit so it won't be like completely the same. And yeah, that's it. Pretty fast and easy. So at this point, yeah, I already decided that the logo is going to be separated from the illustration. It's just going to be on top of everything in a very big and clear way. So I think the important thing when, you know, thinking about designing a beer label is what's going to be in the middle of the label, because this is the front of the beer can, and this is what people are gonna see when it's on the shelf in the store, and this is why it's very important to have a clear logo that is big enough to be recognized from afar. And I mean, you need to have the logo, you need to have some, in my opinion, you need to have the logo, you need to have some sort of an image that really sets the tone for this brand and for this beer, and it needs to be something interesting that will catch the eye of the viewer and gonna make you look and maybe even, you know, take it off the shelf and take a look at this beer can because it's different and it's interesting. So I think, you know, you need to have a logo, a strong image in the middle of your layout, and then just a few more details like the alcohol percentage, which I think is pretty important for some people anyway. I mean, for some clients, they always look for the alcohol percentage, and also the volume of the milliliters of the can, like how much milliliters are in the can. So I guess, yeah, these are like the basic stuff that I would try to include in my beer design, and this is what I did here. So you have, and also, yeah, the beer type. I mean, this is an awful ale, which is, yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, I think that it's very important for people to know what kind of a beer is it. I mean, is it an ale, a lager, a pilsner, or a stout? So yeah, this is definitely something that you want to include in the front of the beer can, if possible. Yeah, so these are really the final details of the illustration. It's almost done, and as you can see, I added some more, like just made a mess, a whole mess with the design on the back. Just added some shapes, added these weird flames on the bottom side of the label, and just worked, yeah, very free and messy, because I wanted it to feel very badass and very punk, and the typography is such an important thing to consider, you know, when working on a beer label. So yeah, I think overall, yeah, it looks pretty badass already, and yeah, I'm definitely happy about the typography on the back of the beer can. And I mean, the logo is not, it's not like a really good logo. I guess it's not like a good logo in a classic sense, where it's very, very minimalistic, and you can easily scale it down, and it will work, you know, in different sizes and colors. So this is not the case for this beer label, but I mean, considering the fact that this is a punk brewery, and it should feel really crazy and badass, and I guess this works. I mean, this is not the best logo, but it definitely works. It definitely set a tone to this brand, and I mean, obviously, I mean, I would spend more time on the logo. I just did something fast here because I really wanted to finish the whole thing in one day, which isn't, it's very different from how I work on a real project, obviously. I'll usually try to make, like, I don't know, like 10 different sketches just for the logo, just to see different, try to come up with different ideas for the logo. And here I just, you know, went with the first idea that came to me, because I just wanted to finish everything real fast. So I guess I mean, the logo is something I'll reconsider. If I could change one thing in this label, it would be the logo, definitely. Okay, so yeah, we're almost done. I changed the color of, like, the pink color to be slightly more red and bright, and yeah, that's it. Just a few more fixes, few more details that I forgot to do, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay, so this is the final label, and this is how it will look like on the beer can itself. Well, to be honest, it's not perfect. I mean, the illustration can definitely be improved, but I think overall, I mean, for one day of work, it's pretty decent. And to be fair, it has a pretty distinctive look, both on the front of the beer can and also on the back. Yeah, it's pretty easy to recognize, and that's a good thing, I guess. Anyway, this was fun, so let me know in the comments if you like this new type of video. It's the first time I'm doing this sort of fake project kind of thing, and I'm sharing with you all the brief details and everything that I went through in the process. So let me know if you like it, and maybe I'll do another one of these. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. See you next time. Bye.